hearts and shines from our eyes. So each one we meet will recognize there's a force within us in all that we do. Can't hide, pushing us, pulling us into our light. Shines through the rain, comforts all pain. I feel love coming alive. It's the force within us in all that we do. The force inside us, vibrant and true.
Thank you so much, Karie. That's beautiful. Wow. It's great to see you all here. I'm glad you remembered. and that I'm glad you're sitting in the middle too, so not just on the edges, so there's room for everybody. That's really cool. This is I was so excited about today. I woke up several times last night thinking about it. I dreamed about it on Friday night. I mean, there's so many things that this symbolizes to me about our coming together as a community. Just all of us in one room and getting to know the different parts of us on purpose, choosing to do that. So it's a blessed thing. And, you know, if it wasn't your choice, well, I'm glad you came anyway. You know, and hopefully it'll meet your needs. And we ask you to please communicate with anyone on the board about it. So any thoughts you have, please bring it to the board. So today, this whole month, is the spiritual living through accountability. Now that's kind of a serious word, accountability. And but it's really important, and as spiritual beings, if we can't be responsible for who we are, however we show up, even if it's, you know, an aberration, or even if it's every day, if we can't be responsible for how we show up, then we're not going to show up, then we're not going to experience the life that we dream of. Because as the prayer said this morning, the reading said this morning, the music said this morning, all said the same thing, is that our response is the key to our experience. And that's a very powerful thing to know, is it not? Right. And it takes a lot of courage sometimes to respond really consciously, to step back and pause and remember that no matter what's going on, it's all God. even if we don't like it, or even if it scares us, or even if we don't like how we're feeling, or what we're doing, or that scares us. It's all God. Doesn't mean it's nice, doesn't mean it's great, doesn't mean it's good, it doesn't mean it's the best. But if we can't see it, we can't change it. It's sort of like budgeting, you know. You can't really do a budget until you know what the facts are. You have to know what so first, so that you know so what. So now what? What am I going to do with what's so? And if we're hiding the what's so from ourselves, then we're really limiting the so what. My part, the response, the ability to respond more wisely. So this is our whole focus. And the thought for today, the spiritual principle of today, is that the present moment is all that there is. This present moment is where the power is. The past is gone, the future hasn't come. It's made out of this present moment. This is it. And so all the more reason to take responsibility for what it is, so that we're creating from a highest place of consciousness, not from a habitual thing, or the way I used to when I was a kid, or the way I always heard when, we lean into, we expect to find certain things in life. We expect people to be that way because, by golly, they've always been that way. Have you ever gone home as an adult and noticed that you feel like a kid? Because there's some part of us that's patterned to being a kid. And there's some part of our parents that's patterned to being the mom and the dad. And we match up there. And so responsibility is being able to choose to be present now with what is, and being conscious about what to be with that, how to be with that. That's a big practice. So to help us, I brought one of our friends. And you'll know him. He's been coming more and more regularly. So let's give a welcome and a good ear and a good listen to our spiritual leader, Dr. Ken Gordon.
Hi, Reverend Dr. Ken Gordon, spiritual leader for Centers for Spiritual Living, bringing you the June installments for the value themes that we're doing for 2017. And the theme for June is accountability. Now, I'll tell you something, is we all know what's right and wrong. We know the difference, we know how to operate. And it doesn't necessarily mean that we know it for somebody else, but we know it for our own selves. We know when we're doing a mistake, or when we're making a mistake, when we're doing something that is inadequate or ineffective. And yet somehow or other we seem to still be able to do it at times because A, we're not conscious, and B, we perhaps don't have the courage to actually stand up and do what we say we're going to do. Dr. Holmes gave us several quotes around this particular area, which Trish has quoted here. Dr. Holmes said in The Science of Mind, page 56, "I am a center in the divine mind, a point of God-conscious life, truth, and action. My affairs are divinely guided and guarded into right action and into correct results. Everything I do, say, or think is stimulated by the truth. There is power in this word I speak because it is of the truth and is the truth. There is perfect and continuous right action in my life and my affairs, and all belief in wrong action right now is dispelled and made negative. Right action alone has power, and right action is power, and power is God, the living Spirit Almighty. This Spirit animates everything that I do, say, or think. Ideas come to me daily, and these ideas are divine ideas. They direct me and sustain me without any effort. I am continuously directed. I am compelled to do the right thing at the right time, to say the right word at the right time, and to follow the right course at all times." Our ability to be able to act from an authentic being, from what we know to be right and wrong, from what we know is the direction our life needs to take, is the direction that is required. We live in a universe where everything has value, including ourselves. And when we fault that value, when we create a dysfunction through it, what happens is we actually skew the cosmos. It's very, very important that we act from our own heart, from our own understanding and our own appreciation of what is correct, what is right, and what it is for us to do. The courage to take right action is the first step to enlightenment, and it's the first step to awakening. Please have a joyous Sunday, and I'll talk to you next week. Love you. Bye-bye.
We all fail. Hopefully not every day, not all day. But we do, we all fail. And learning to be responsible for those failures, learning to have responsibility when we see ourselves failing, it takes a lot of self-awareness and it takes a lot of courage. You know, there's been things in my life where I have been engaged in some kind of perception that had me see the world in a way that was different than my family, let's say, or my best friend, or my coworker. And you know how easy it is to see the world the way you see it? That's what makes sense, right? Because that's how you see it. Can you imagine that other people see it differently? I mean, really. Well, they do. You can count on it. Because none of us are an island. And it isn't funny. I mean, it's wonderful when we can laugh at ourselves, really. It's really a healthy sign. But to just go from mistake to laughing is not a good thing. That's called denial. That's not a good sign. But it is really tempting, isn't it? Have you ever said something really wrong in public or to somebody you really care about, and you've lashed out, or you've said something that was not about them at all, it was about the day you had, or whatever? Have you ever done that and noticed it in the moment? Anybody? Yes. Have you ever wished that in that very moment you could catch that and say, oh God, that's really not how I feel? Or I didn't mean to say that. It's not true. I'm just hurting. Or that's not the greatest part of me. Or I'm sorry. I was whatever, scared, or stuck, or caught in another conversation and I dumped it on you. Have you ever been there? I hope so, because that means if you've been there, then you're in the ability, the responsibility to see yourself as you are. And then to be able to do something with it in that same moment is really spiritual mastery. We all hope, oh, maybe they didn't hear me. Or, well, you know, it's not usually what I say, they'll forgive me. Or whatever, you know, however way we avoid being responsible. But in those moments, we do harm. That's life. We've all done it, have we not? We've all done those things. And what we do with that memory of having done those things is really what matters. It really matters how we respond to our awareness that we were less than perfect in that moment. You know, we say all the time, it's never too late to change. It's never too late to take responsibility for ourselves. It's never too late to start over. Unless, of course, you're determined, A, to suffer, B, to punish, or 3, to just go unconscious, because that's really the options to being present in the moment. Getting the courage to be here now with how we are is the spiritual journey. Learning how to speak directly about the things that are going on to the people that you directly need to communicate with about it, that's mastery. It is not easy. But what we learn here, we learn that there is one moment, this one. And what has happened before is done, unless we insist in bringing it and dragging it around in this big pile of bricks behind us. Or even just one brick is too many, really. But how do we stop? How do we break that pattern? What can we possibly do when we're feeling embarrassed about what we just said to our child, or to our partner, or to our boss, or whatever? What can we possibly do? This is the lesson for today. And everything that we have heard so far speaks to that. We take responsibility. We take responsibility for what we just did. We own it. That wasn't nice. That was unkind. That was too abrupt. That was whatever it was. We take responsibility. Now, to have response-ability comes next. First, you take responsibility. I did that. Or they did that. So I'm going to breathe now and not react to what just happened. I'm going to step back from that thing that that person just said to me, or did, or wrote, or whatever heard. I'm going to step back from that, and I'm going to remember who I am. This is why we're here. We come here to remember who we are. So responsibility says, okay, that was really icky. Whether it was me or them, doesn't matter. That was a disconnect. That was called separation. That's falling out of God whenever we're, doing that. But that's different than sharing your feelings with love and respect. You can talk about the same thing very differently if you're responsible. And there's so much to learn in this process about how to be responsible and how to be response-able. So if we can go to that place in us that we come here to learn about, which is that there's a divine presence, and it made me, and it made you, everyone. And that's really the truth. And if I am less than my highest ideal of myself, then please forgive me. I don't want to blame you. I forgive you too. I don't want to carry that around for the next 10 years. Sometimes I remember going home, and one of the family stories around Thanksgiving was always about how I pushed my brother off the porch on his tricycle. Everybody loved that story. It was not, I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to push him. I actually wanted to get on the back. It had those little things and you could hold on. That's really all I wanted to do, is I wanted to join him on the tricycle, but I wasn't thinking, and I was too close to the edge, and off he went. And I managed to hold on to the banister. There was a lot of time I wished I'd have gone over with him. That would have really let me off the hook. But I didn't. And I'm glad I'm not so devious, as I would have figured that out. That would have been something. So the ability to respond consciously, here's some tools. And the secret for it is in the present moment. So in this present moment right now, are there some things that you're still upset about that somebody did in your long ago past, that you're still responding to whenever you think of them or see them? Are you still holding it? Is it still a brick in your wall? Right. So, just bring that idea, that memory of that into your awareness right now. That is so long ago. Is there any value in carrying that forward today? Do you need that past experience and past feeling, past judgment, past pain? Do you need that today to have your life be juicy and powerful and joyful and loving? Do you need it? No, we don't. Unless we need it to feel better than them. Unless we need it to feel right, right? And so we could give it up. We could say, that was not my highest truth. That was not their highest truth. That was a long ago. And let's be done with that. Let's start again in this moment. How do we want to be, really? And we take responsibility and we respond ably by saying to whoever that was in our heart or in person, I'm sorry. Let's start over. And if you don't want to start over, then that's another piece of information for yourself about really why are you needing to hold on to it. What do you need to be heard? What do you need to forgive? That's all part and parcel of this ability to respond. But the key is being able to step back from the situation and pause and go to God first. Breathe. I am a divine being. This is here for my growth. I need to see this part of me. I didn't know that I was like that. I need to learn to listen more compassionately. I need to be a safer space for those people to express themselves. Whatever it is for us, we need to understand that. Right? Is that right? Today we're together. Some of us don't know each other because some used to come to the first service and leave before those others came for the second service. And I had this idea, which I'm looking out and thinking, I don't know if it's going to work or not, but we're just going to start doing something. And that is, we're going to stand up and we're going to greet our neighbors, particularly the ones we don't know yet. So we've got 3 minutes for this. So I invite you to stand up and go find somebody you don't know and tell them something about yourself, why you're here. Oh, I think this is good, yeah. Keep moving. Really listen. That's right. Move about. Get out of your row. Wander. Exercise your knees. You still have 1.5 minutes. Oh, this is beautiful. Keep at it. Remember these faces. Thank you for coming and connecting with me, Karie. That's right, and for all of us. Twenty more seconds. All right, let's make our way back to where we started. Thank you, Raj. Yes. Okay. Ooh, that works. That's really cool. So, how was that? Wasn't that so much fun? Oh, did you meet somebody that you'd never met before? Yes? Will you remember their face? Yes. Practice their name 2 or 3 times. Look for them again in the lobby today and say, "Oh, Karie, hi, it was sure nice to meet you. Glad to see you guys." It feels good. It really does. I want to acknowledge another thing in this present moment, and that is June. There's so much movement in June about completing things and preparing for new things. Does anybody have a completion and a preparation for something new going on in your life? If you do, just let me see your hands. Oh, goodly. About a third of us, as well as those that are afraid to put their hands up. So how many people have in your family, it doesn't have to be you, but how many people in your family have some sort of graduation going on right now? You know, the kids, the grandkids, right? You. So isn't it wonderful to stop and acknowledge those moments of completion where we're graduating? It means we've accomplished something significant. It's not just so. I mean, graduation means we put in time and attention. We've done the homework. We've struggled against our own habits. We've made it to the end of that particular benchmark, and we're succeeding. Does anyone have a graduation experience which has some challenges in it right now? Could you show me? Yes. Right. I remember when my son, who I did so much learning with, my son was one of those kids, my first child, who I wasn't supposed to be able to have children. So he was so precious to me. So when he decided to let his hair get really long, and he started having big dangling crosses from his ears, it wasn't about religion. And he wore these t-shirts with blood and guts all over them and skulls and things. And he listened to music, the kind of music that I just didn't understand. I never not loved him, however. Come high school time, he was the class clown. That's how he coped with the challenges he had being at school. He'd be a little goofy. And I remember once a teacher said to me, to us, a counselor actually, he said, well, you'll be really lucky to get out of here the way you behave. It's just really foolish the way you're showing up. He was so unkind to my son that I said, excuse me, Andrew, we're leaving. And we got up and we walked out. And we said, this is not the way to encourage my son to be successful. Shaming, right? He probably didn't mean it that way. He was probably trying to shake some sense into him. I today have the ability to respond differently than I did when I was a protective mother. You know that place? I'm not going to do that to my kid, or to my friend, or to my whatever. So it's a mother bear in us. Even guys can be mother bears. The doctor once said to my daughter, well, this mono that you have, she said, well, what does it mean really? And he said, well, there's this virus. It's called the AIDS virus. And mono has some similarity to the AIDS virus. And my daughter just got white as a ghost. And she said, you mean I'm going to die? And he didn't mean to do that to her. And I said to him, Pamela, we're leaving. Wait for me in the lobby. And I closed the door. And I said to the doctor, who we had been going to for 8 years, I said, you will never, ever say that to anybody again. That is terrifying to her. It was true. It did terrify her. She's had tons of autoimmune issues her whole life. It was harmless from his perspective. He thought he was educating her. He was probably thinking he was doing his best. I couldn't see that in that moment. Do you know what I'm talking about? Goodness gracious. So when we're having challenges with endings, graduating, just that moment, the gap between what is and what wants to be, and when we're maybe not feeling so much of ourselves as we'd like to, we can practice response-ability. We can even do it in arrears and go forgive Dr. H and Counselor X. We can go back and restore the years the locusts have eaten from me and say, I'm sure you were doing the best you could. I let it go. We can do that, and we must, because otherwise it's a brick in our bucket. And so if we're having a challenge ending right now, let's know that there is a power, a presence, a grace, a love, a joy that exists within us, and its purpose is to guide us to the next step. And I promise you that if you can, if I can, in that moment of separation, if you can step back before you react and breathe and remember that no matter what it looks like, I am the love of God. And so was Counselor X and Dr. H. And so is that person right now saying these things or behaving like that. And all of the terrors that are happening in the world, they're all the same. They're the examples of our separation from ourselves. So we can put our attention on what is working. We can honor the good. We can find the good and praise it. That's how it changes. It doesn't change by waiting for the bad to happen again, for that shoe to fall and hit you on the head. You know, we do not need to be Chicken Little. You have to be old enough to remember that. You know? So our job in responsibility is to decide where do we put our attention. And so let us find the good and praise it. And there is so much good that with practice, we become willing to stop listening for the next mistake, to stop expecting the next disconnect, to stop wondering when it's going to happen again, and we can start being open to what is it that we really want to experience in ourselves. And so that's the practice, to practice being here now with responsibility. So I want to acknowledge anyone who is graduating from one thing to another right now. I know that Hester's here. Yes, you are. So I ask you to stand. And anyone else who's graduating from one thing or another right now, if you would please stand that we can acknowledge you. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So, I don't know all the stories of your graduations. I do know a little bit about this young woman's. So she's finished high school, and she's going off to military. Oh, my goodness. Missionary. They're not really connected, except that they're both fervent. She's going to missionary school, college. And during the break today, if the passion for Hester's choice to go and dedicate her life to God and the sharing of that, if that touches you, you go meet her, because she is an amazing young woman. She truly is. And so is her whole family. Thank you, Dixie, for bringing everybody here. Really. And if you always wanted to have a tattoo without all the pain, come to the picnic on the 25th, because she's going to be doing henna tattoos for us. So, and that'll help her in her missionary college fund. So, it's our choice, isn't it? It's our choice where we put our attention. And as challenging as it can be, we do not have to suffer. No matter what is going on, we can find a way through our connection to the infinite to remember who we are, remember who everyone else is, and go to higher ground. And I know that if I can do it, you can do it. I had one of my most precious friends die on Friday. Yeah, I'm sad. It's true. But I'm so grateful to have had such a precious friend. I so loved her. She was my co-founder in Ukraine of our ministry there, my first friend there. So it's okay to be able to be sad and at the same time to feel how much love I have for her and her boys and to share that. And that is just one little example of the ability to respond in the midst of it without denying the pain of it. We can't deny what people say to us and do to us, but we can forgive, or we can hold them in love until they remember themselves. So I love this theme because it's working me. And I hope that you let it work you, so that in alignment with the prayer and the message and the readings and the music, we come together as one community, calling in our new minister. You'll notice in your bulletin there is a little piece of paper. Sometime today or during the week, I ask you to fill it in, answer it for yourself. Because this new day and this one service, to me, symbolizes our readiness to move forward to call in our new senior minister. And that's a very wonderful, powerful moment to observe. And I had all these ideas of doing these fun things, but I'm going to just read you this, what I woke up with on Saturday. So today is our first Sunday that altogether we're a community. And this is a gift we're giving ourselves. So let this be a sign that we're ready to start calling in our new senior minister who will come to fulfill the intentions that are in our hearts, our intentions for our loving, healthy, learning, thriving community. So let us agree that today is the day that we stand up together for a brand new way of doing church. Let the message be clear and the silent call of our hearts be heard so that we can hear people say. Let us call to a minister who comes to stay, to be here with us, to be ready, to be able to pray, and also to play. We sing and we grin and we laugh out loud on this day. We let go of the past and we're proud of our way. We give out our best and we serve all the rest with our joy and our hope. And we know that today the call is heard across the land. And soon our new leader will stand here and say, I thank you for your work in surrender and stepping forth in faith to always remember that we are one. And I am on my way. And you can trust that I am coming to stay. That's what Spirit brought me Friday morning about us and our new minister. It's going to be so great, and we are getting so ready. So let's do our closing and our opening affirmation too. So I close this. I invite all the practitioners who are here to stand, to take this deeper with themselves and be available as we each take this responsibility call to the meaning that we have within ourselves. To be that place, that holy, holy place that Spirit speaks through, so that we do not deny our feelings or our experience, nor do we deny our truth, nor do we deny our ability to begin again, to let go, to forgive, to surrender, to start over, to see the good, to find the good and praise it. We don't deny anything. We give ourselves to it all because it's all part and parcel of who we are. This is a great new day, and we have begun a new way today, honestly, openly, truthfully. We've begun bridging the gap. We've begun honoring the present moment in a new way. And we've begun to envision the minister who is hearing the call. This is a new beginning day. And I am so grateful to notice and to call it forward in myself and in each of us. So if you would like support with that today, make your way to the Arches room. If they're all full, find a practitioner, come back, sit here. Let us do this work to be free so that we can be totally aware and awake and joyful in this present moment. We are so blessed and so loved. And so I remember and I know that no matter what, all is well. Blessed be